So I'm Mindy Sotelo. I'm really excited to be here. I'm brand new to this committee, so lots for me to learn. But Supervisor Gonzalez is on Highway 156. She's on her way, but we cannot get started without the both of us here. So we're just going to ask everybody to be kind of patient, and we'll get started as soon as she gets here. So hopefully it's not too long.
board member in San Juan, and I opted to go there, and so I left at 1 o'clock, but traffic, terrible accident at the Alameda. Okay, so let's call this meeting to order at 1:20, 20 minutes late, on March the 21st. And can I just ask why this is a special meeting? Sorry.
Good afternoon. So the regular meeting was, should have been in February, but because there wasn't one, we had to do a special meeting. The next one will be in April.
Okay. Do you have a date in April? My apologies for the irregularities.
It'll be April 24th.
4/24.
Yeah,
Okay.
at 2 p.m.
I think I have a conflict, but we'll talk about that at the end, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and begin the meeting. Do we have any public comments for any item not on the agenda?
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card. On Zoom, you can press *9 on your phone or the raise hand icon on your screen. No comments.
Okay, let's go ahead. I would call the meeting to order. Okay, so let's get the pledge. Would you like to? Okay. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Here.
Supervisor Sotelo,
Present.
all two present.
Okay, can we get acknowledgement of certificate of posting?
So moved.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then public comments for items, oops, we already did that on the agenda, my mistake. Regular agenda, 5.1. So we need to appoint committee chair and vice chair. So I'm sitting in the chair position and I heard your logic, so if you want to make a motion, I will gladly accept it.
So I'll make a motion for Supervisor Gonzalez to be the chair of the Facilities Committee for the calendar year 2024.
I will accept that nomination, thank you. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 2-0. I'll make the likewise nomination for vice chair to be Supervisor Sotelo.
I'll second that.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. So we need a motion to approve the minutes for October 25th, and since you weren't present at the meeting, I'll go ahead and make that motion. So move to approve the meeting minutes of October 25th, 2023.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approve the committee schedule for the calendar for 2024. Oh darn, I haven't even looked at that. So,
We'll pull it up.
okay, thank you. So we're gonna spend a little bit of time on this to make sure that we have no conflicts. I already know I have a conflict on the April 24th meeting.
And we both have to be present at all of the meetings. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct.
Correct. Yeah, to be able to hold it.
And we don't have alternates.
I don't think we have an alternate, no. We should probably remedy that. Good suggestion.
So, Madam Chair, these are the scheduled meetings. This is based on the previous committee members' availability, which was every other month, the fourth Wednesday at 2 p.m. This is what we anticipate for the remainder of the years.
The fourth Thursday.
Fourth Thursday. If there is a will to change the schedule, we can definitely discuss that and revisit a better availability time.
So my only comment would be, I'm not showing up on December 25th.
Good one.
That
Just
one.
saying.
That one
Love
will
you
be-
guys, but yeah, not working for me.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I can't read the print even with my glasses. So,
I can read them out. So the next one will be for April 24th,
okay, and as I said, I know I have a conflict. Okay, so go ahead and next.
June 26th,
6/26,
August 28th,
8/28,
October 23rd,
20.
sorry, and December 25th. However, special meetings may be called per the committee's request.
maybe a week prior to that. We can look at our schedules.
Looking at my schedule for December, the week prior,
Is that feedback?
no, I have the Economic Advisory Committee on the 18th, but that's at noon, so I could do 2 p.m. On the 18th. Or we could go up to, I can't do the 11th. I could do the 4th of December. So,
We're way too fast on me, sorry.
now I know that we meet every other month, it looks like. Do we have the ability to meet more often if needed? I'm just thinking we're going to get into this library expansion project and we've got a lot of things going on. If we needed to meet more often, can we?
That
Okay.
is the committee's right. If they want to meet more often, we can definitely change
Okay.
that as well.
Okay,
You can
great.
also call special meetings.
I think it just is helpful to stay on top of some of these things, so perfect.
I think so too. Thank you for that suggestion. Okay, so have we decided the date then for December then? Because I'm looking at my calendar and I don't have conflicts on the 21st or the 14th. So whatever day you want to make it is fine with me. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at November. Okay, so December is good. Clear whatever day you want to do it in December. I actually have 3 weeks free. That means I should take a break.
I suggest let's meet earlier in December. I feel like sometimes we get too far into December and people are checked out and there's just too much going on. So I feel like this is such an important committee that
What
I
about
would
12,
suggest.
12? Just 12, is that soon enough in December for you, or you want to go the first week? It's 12, 5,
We're
12, 12.
Wednesdays, right? Not Thursdays. Wednesdays. So I would say the 4th, if that's okay with you.
Okay. 12, 4 is fine. Okay.
The 11th, I'm in Sacramento at RCRC.
12, 4 at 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go back and look at October to make sure October is okay. Okay, so the 23rd is already on my calendar, so I'm good with that. August.
And I think staff sent already the calendar invite, so it should hopefully be on your calendar already.
It is on the
Okay.
28th. I think I know, but the 24th is a conflict. I do know that. The 6/26. Hold on, I'm making sure. Okay, good.
So
the
do you
only-
want to move the April meeting to the week, bump it up 1 week so we meet on April 17th?
I think we have the CSAC legislative conference the week before, and so it would have to be the week after. But let me get to April, February. Hold on. April. Oh, you have RCRC on the 28th, huh? That's March. You have RCRC on the 25th. Oh, 24th. Okay, so April 24th. No, I will be out of town on that one, at an NALEO conference.
How about May 1st, the following Wednesday?
It's yours if you want to do it on April 1st.
Either
May 1st.
April 10th or May 1st.
April 10th is free as well.
Is that too soon for you guys? I know that really is only 3 weeks away. Would you prefer May 1st?
Do you have any input?
Yes to what?
Yeah,
May
you have
1st?
a choice.
Do May 1st. Are you
May
good
1st?
with May
Okay,
1st?
that's May 1st. Okay, May Day.
Okay.
All right.
2 p.m.?
At 2, yes.
All right. So, are the other dates okay with those
Yes.
numbers? So just to reiterate, the only ones we'll be canceling is for April 24th. We'll also cancel December 25th and replace those with a special meeting December 4th at 2 p.m., May 1st at 2 p.m.
Okay. Thank
Perfect.
you. And we'll get a calendar out to the public so you guys all get the dates, okay?
Members of the public can also sign up to receive the agenda on our Peak Agenda platform. You guys can sign up. It should be a little box at the very top that allows you to input your email, and you'll receive the updates from there as well.
Can I make a comment about the members of the public? I am just so happy to see you all here. At previous facility meetings, all we had was Susan and Tammy from the library, and then a couple members from the Library Coalition. But it's awesome to see all of you here. Thank you. Thank you for your time, and I apologize for stealing 20 minutes of your day. Traffic.
Traffic is a real thing here in San Benito County. Do we need to make a motion for the schedule?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the committee schedule for calendar year 2024,
The revised.
the revised.
Okay, and I'll second that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'm not asking a silly question about anybody opposing, because we're all saying, yeah, there's no on the other end. Okay, so that would put us to 5.4, review and discuss the resolution for the Board of Supervisors of San Benito County, establishing the Supervisors Standing Committee policies and procedures, provide staff direction as desired, and to recommend to take said resolution to the County Board of Supervisors and for a formal approval. Okay, so obviously I didn't look at it, so.
So for this item, we are presenting a resolution that we could potentially take to the Board of Supervisors for formal adoption. The County Facilities Committee was initially created as an ad hoc to identify, prioritize, and advocate for county facility needs and services in San Benito County. And through several developments, it was later then redesignated as a committee. As a new standing committee with no past rules and procedures, establishing the Board of Supervisors Standing Committee policies and procedural rules is pertinent to ensure consistent and agreed upon voting and decision-making procedures. A draft resolution was attached to the item for review and any feedback you may have. I can also have it displayed on the screen if we want to go through it.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure if you're able to see.
If maybe just give us the headers, each of the headers that are in caps and.
Okay. So it will be a resolution of the Board of Supervisors establishing the following Board of Supervisors Standing Committee policies and procedural rules. There is 2 committees that would essentially be housed under this. That includes the County Facilities and Information Technology. These are 2 committees that didn't have any rules or procedures set in place. And it does list the committee membership, how it would form. This may change over time if necessary based on direction. We also have the 2 facilities purposes listed under the functions of the standing committee. So it is listed here. You're able to see the County Facilities Committee shall identify, prioritize, and advocate for county facility needs and services. This committee shall make recommendations and advise the Board of Supervisors regarding the facilities master plan, capital improvement projects, real property acquisitions and sales, facility maintenance, renovation, general facility use, etc. So that's there. And then just kind of goes into what the special committees are allowed to do. Typically, it's simply recommendations to the Board of Supervisors for them to formally approve. And then it kind of just goes into the rules of membership, staffing, resolution, committee tenure, notices, and how we're supposed to follow Brown Act, also as well as the committees and the meetings, the use of minutes, similar to how we use for the Board of Supervisors. So it is a pretty straightforward, but we are open to any feedback you may have. This was presented to the IT committee at its previous meeting as well. They approved moving it to the Board of Supervisors. But if your committee has any feedback, we definitely welcome that as well. Let me know how far.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
And it's probably, so how does this work with, so there's, I know we might need legal for this one, and we
Yeah.
totally can get the answer later. I'm just curious. So typically it would be, I know the reason why this is a committee, because we meet for a longer period of time. This isn't going away. This is something we need to continue talking about, and ad hoc is going to be something for a very specific thing. But I'm just curious, if Supervisor Gonzalez and I spoke about, let's say, a facility outside of this meeting, are we in violation of
The Brown Act.
Brown Act, because this is a committee meeting. You know what I mean? So, like, let's say, I don't know, the Friends of the Library are having a meeting and we both attend. Totally fine or not fine? And I know we're walking a fine line, but I just want to be very clear on some of those things to make sure that I'm not in violation of anything.
And
I know
who,
it
who
kinda
is and who is our county council assigned to this? I see Eckham behind there. So in lieu of nobody else, Eckham,
we
come
go.
on down.
I'm so happy to see we have counsel here. Sorry, Eckham, I didn't see you back there.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be an appropriate question for county council.
I would strongly recommend having all discussions on any facilities in open session, but this is not a quorum of the legislative body that created the standing committee, right? And so that's where the Brown Act really applies. And I mean, the distinguishing between a standing committee and an ad hoc committee doesn't really come from the Brown Act itself. The phrase ad hoc committee, for example, doesn't exist in the Brown Act. So this is kind of like a combination of best practices and the way we interpret case law. But because there's no quorum of the Board of Supervisors here, it would be acceptable, but best practice would be to reserve all of your substantive discussions for these meetings, because that would be an open session, publicly noticed meetings, and so forth.
And that's kind of what Supervisor Kosmicki and I did, is we would have our discussions here and then report out in open session.
By no means, this does not have a time limit attached to it. We can definitely go back and answer any further questions if necessary. But you kind of just wanted to bring this forward.
Well, I appreciate you formalizing it because, you know, in the form of an ad hoc, we were just advisory capacity with not a lot of teeth. But now this is an actual standing committee. We have the teeth, and so I appreciate the formality of it. We've been doing the deed, might as well get the title. Yeah. So, thank you. Okay. We have not been doing public comment at all. Shame on me.
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card on Zoom. You can press *9 on your phone or the raise hand icon on your screen. No comments.
Okay.
So I'll move to approve as
Okay.
recommended.
Okay. Thank you. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2-0. Okay, so we'll go on to 5.5. And when would we do public comment then? After the presentation?
That's up to you. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Keep it the same as everything else. Okay.
All right, good afternoon, members of the committee and public. We are going to start with item 5.5. I am Steve Lute, Public Works Administrator, and I also oversee parks and facilities and other fun things. So we're going to talk about the 911 Dispatch Center, and that's the dispatch center. When local calls come into our county of 911, they actually get routed currently through the OES, Operational Emergency Services building, just located a few hundred feet from here. They're routed through there, and then they're bounced over to Santa Cruz SCR 911. Santa Cruz then, they have a very large staff, and they kind of dispatch folks from there. Some of the dispatch might come back to Sheriff Taylor's staff or whomever Santa Cruz 911 deems appropriate. And most agencies operate that way. It's essentially a pass-through of calls that go to Santa Cruz for this general region. Well, there's actually half a dozen workstations and systems that are located in the OES building that's taking up room, where OES actually needs an operations center during emergencies to be located in their building. So this project is to relocate that equipment over to Sheriff Taylor's office on Technology Parkway. And last year, we had the room essentially built, we had the cables installed, the empty conduits, I should say, installed. And so the room is a shell, and it's now waiting for that equipment, and actually new equipment, to be transferred to Technology Parkway. So that's this agenda item 5.5. The status of that project, there's essentially two services that are operated for 911. There's kind of the radio services, radio to radio talking, and then there's the phone services. The radio services is a little simpler to, quote, relocate, and we've actually already ordered the equipment to have the radio services put over there at Technology Boulevard, relocated. That equipment order should arrive in about 3 weeks, and then there'll be a 2-week installation period where the radio services will be ready to go. A little more complicated is the transfer of the phone services. The sheriff's office, they currently have what's called a VoIP system, Voice over Internet Protocol. They have about 30 phones. That's kind of the newer-ish technology for phones, and there's a lot of flexibility in that phone system in a good way. Our IT department has ordered 6 additional phones, because there's currently 6 over at OES. So we've ordered 6 VoIP phones through Verizon, which is the provider over at Technology Parkway. And I think that order actually occurred either 1 or 2 weeks previous to this meeting. I spoke with IT yesterday. They reached out to Verizon. Verizon's still not sure about when those 6 phones will be ready to be delivered to Technology Parkway, to give them an additional 6 phones. So that's still a little bit of a TBD. Once those phones arrive, AT&T, we have a switch equipment, will switch the services that are routed from OES. AT&T will route that same call to Technology Parkway, to those new 6 phones. And that process itself is about 2 or 3 weeks of AT&T, once the phones are installed, to have the calls going to Technology Parkway. A little bit more of a gray area is Technology Parkway is actually operated by Verizon. And so the good news is, once we get the 6 phones to Technology Parkway, that'll allow us to actually do a remodel to the OES building, which we have funding for, that the board already approved. And so we'll have kind of a temporary system where AT&T will be routing calls to Technology Parkway, which will then go to Santa Cruz. Ultimately, we need Verizon to take over those 6 phones with 6 new phone numbers, so to speak. And those 6 new phone numbers through Verizon would then, when someone calls 911, they would go to those new 6 phone numbers, and those new 6 phone numbers would be routed to Santa Cruz. So the two kind of gray areas with the process is, when are we going to receive those 6 phones, the VoIP phones? And then kind of the bigger X factor, which is not quite as critical, is when will AT&T go away and Verizon takes over at Technology Parkway. So that's the process. Sheriff Taylor's here if he wants to shed some light on that. And
Can I just ask one question?
sure.
Will that be seamless where the public won't feel any kind of burden should they call 911? There's not going to be any, like, a drop call, lost call, or any time frame, any minutes lost in emergency?
Perfect question. That's the number 1 question we have with all of our meetings with the team, is there won't be any loss of continuity. So great question, but that's like number 1 on our list for the
Okay.
transfers.
I'll just add a couple things. Thanks, Steve. So I told Steve he could go ahead and tackle this, but he also was brought in the 11th hour. So there's a couple other things that are important about this alternate, what SCR 911 calls is their alternate site. So there's an alternate site for Santa Cruz County that's housed at the Watsonville Police Department. It's a backup dispatch center. We've mirrored that here in our county. So the reason why those consoles sit
Bless
there is we have lost, not to get too far into the weeds, everything Steve said is true. There is actual physical switch on the wall in OES. It's called a 911 switch. And when we have that switch in one position, all 911 calls bounce from that building to Santa Cruz. If we activate this center, we put that switch in the other position, the 911 calls land here. So all communication from the radios goes through a T1 line from San Benito County to Santa Cruz County. And as we unfortunately have had happen, that T1 line has been severed twice in the recent past. When that line gets severed, we lose communication with Santa Cruz, and they activate the alternate site. Luckily for us, because this is like the greatest place to live in the state of California, a lot of dispatchers live here. So they have local people here that work for SAR 911 that can come down to this building, activate the backup dispatch center. We don't lose public safety communications. Antiquated technology, show me your surprise faces. Antiquated technology at this old building. Old copper wires wrapped in fabric. It's really degraded, and so by moving that center, there's a lot of positives for OES, but also for the community, there's a lot more redundancy. It's all over modern phone lines, better communication. There's a lot of other nuances, like right now we're having to use these special boxes that convert the sound to a different type, and the dispatcher can't hear while they're talking, which is a threat to public safety. So if we're talking on the radio, we can't hear them. If they're talking on the radio, they can't hear us, and that's not conducive to public safety. So those things will be remedied also by this center. It's really important for us to have a backup center. And when we have had large-scale events happen in this community, be it natural disasters, the Hollister Rally, we actually activate that center to have communications housed here for special events in this community, and so that will still be happening. So really, it's a mirror of what Santa Cruz has at De La Vega Park. It's just a miniature version at our office that can be used as a dispatch center in an emergency, and also it's called a PSAP, the Public Safety Answering Point, is the 911 center. So I know it's a lot to throw at you. It's a lot of technical stuff, but it's extremely important that we get that built.
And your facility already has the wherewithal to house this, right? Because I remember 4 years ago, you showed me a tour, and there was a room set aside for communications. Is that the room that's going to be? Is that the room that's going to be dedicated to?
Yeah. So this has been this has been going on for a long time.
Yes.
We used to have our locker room there. We had to get impact fee funding to build a new locker room, to then free up that space, convert it, have IT come in, get all the infrastructure there. We then had to build a new radio room in the back of our office, new antenna, upgraded equipment. So as part of our ongoing communications infrastructure as well, this ties into that also. But it's going to result in a much better system. And the user, the end user, the person that calls is not going to know all these things. If anything, it's going to improve our service. It's going to improve everything that we do as opposed to be a hurdle for anybody to jump over.
Or what I appreciate is your history with Watsonville, and so knowing that you are duplicating what they did, I'm confident that we'll iron out all the kinks, and there will be no disruption to the 911 service for the residents or anyone who needs to call. And so what do you need from us, other than discussing and approving staff direction as desired? What do you need from us?
Just a discussion item, just to let you know kind of where we are, to keep tabs on it. And
Okay.
I just thank Steve and Salman. I mean, we had another meeting about capital improvement stuff the other day, and I have never felt more confident that we're on the same page moving forward with these projects. So these things have been delayed for quite some time, but now as long as Steve sticks around and our capital projects manager sticks around, I think these things are going to start getting taken care of. So I appreciate it. And thanks, Steve, for the heavy lift.
Well, thank you for the update. Any questions from the audience?
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card on Zoom. You can press *9 on your phone or the raise hand icon on your screen. No comments.
Okay. We'll go on to 5.6 then, to receive the update on the facilities regarding the library expansion, the fire incident at the Old County Courthouse. Can we do those all separately? The library expansion first, then the fire incident at the courthouse, and then the county parks.
We can.
Okay.
So, library expansion and the courthouse actually, they are connected now. Unfortunately, the fire at the courthouse caused some relocation of staffing, and I'll get into that in a moment. But regarding the library expansion milestone timeline, so We have engaged an architect, and the architect is creating what we call bridging documents, design documents. So they're working on what we call the 30% design package for the expansion. We've had a couple stakeholder outreach meetings, friends of the library and other folks attended those meetings. And so we're getting really close. They now have a pretty clear vision of what is intended for the expansion. And so the architect will complete their design in May of 2024, end of May, or excuse me, end of June, end of June. And over the course of the next few weeks, and I'll talk about this in a second, we'll have a construction management team onboarded. And so they'll work with the architect, start a preliminary cost estimate to see what the cost of what the architect has created. And those two entities working for the county will create a package, a design build package that will go out to bid so that another team, they call it the design build team, because they're going to have a designer and a contractor together. They're going to take over from past that 30% design till the end of construction. And so we're now in the packaging phase to create the design and the package that will go out to that design build team. So the architect's on schedule. They'll be finished.
Can I ask a question before you go on to the architect? I know that there was prior discussions about the square footage. What did we actually end up with? Because I know that's a concern for the Friends of the Library, for me as a resident, for me as a supervisor. What is the actual square footage we're looking at?
Yeah, so we're going to expand to the desired square footage of that the Friends of the Library concept came up with originally, which is the larger square footage that you're referring to, which includes we're going to be connecting the existing building, demolishing the two white older storage buildings that are behind admin right here, that are currently used for just storing docs. So we have to find a location for those documents. And so that's essentially going to become the new library staff area and the meeting conference room. So it'll be the larger footprint that you're referring to. And at this point, we don't plan to expand into the alley because we think we'll have enough square footage using Office of Ed and that area to come up with a larger footprint. So that's good news.
But you don't have that numerical square footage?
I do, but I don't want to misquote. I want to say we can ask the Friends of the Library, is it 15,000? 18,000 square feet. Okay, 18,000.
Music to my ears.
So that package should be ready this summer, essentially. And so we'll release that package to design build team. And that process will take a few months so that in October of this year, hopefully the board will approve a contract with the design build team. They'll take over the design at that point. The construction management team is still going to be on board, and even the architect will still be on board in the background. Architect's role will be kind of minor, the current architect. The design build team will be working with our construction management team for the duration. And so that design package for the ultimate design of the building should be ready probably April, May of 2025. Then, and I'm going to pause here. So this timeline, it's been impacted, I'll say, by the fire at the courthouse. So for folks that aren't aware, our courthouse, which housed the assessors, tax collectors, and elections, and some other folks, we experienced a fire a few months back. And the reason why this is impacting this schedule is because the Office of Education currently resides in the library. And the Office of Education was going to be relocated to 1131 San Felipe Road, which is next to the food bank. Well, the glitch with that is our assessors, treasurers, and election department, they needed someplace to go ASAP due to the fire. The elections, they found a home over at Wana Drive, and that's working out well for them. The assessors and the treasurers, we looked, I don't know, 7 or 8 buildings probably total. I lost track, but we looked all around the county to try to find some place to house them. the only place that was, I'll call, available and fit their needs was the same place that Office of Ed was going to move into to allow for the library expansion, which is on San Felipe Road. So that obviously was a conflict. So we reached out to the state that provided the $10 million grant for the library expansion. And we kind of explained the situation to them. And so the state library department granted the library expansion project grant an additional 18 months to allow some things that I'm about to explain to in a moment to occur. So that was wonderful. That's great news. So that gives some flexibility to the grant schedule, because ballpark-wise, just having the assessors and tax collectors make the move to where they're at, we lost several hundred thousand, million, 2 million. It's kind of unknown. The amount of funding that we could capture just from that one move and that transition, just call it ballpark $1 million of time that the tax collectors and assessors weren't allowed to collect. And so we're trying not to have that occur again, and so we're trying to have them stay at San Felipe. Office of Ed will stay at the library, and the extension from the state allows us to remodel the courthouse so that we can get the treasurer, assessors, and whomever back to the courthouse, and then that'll allow the Office of Ed to go to San Felipe Road. So I'll pause there for questions maybe, because there's a lot you might want to unpack, but does that make sense?
I feel
so
like
far?
we're doing a shield game where the
We are
cups are all
doing a little bit of
moving.
shield
Yeah,
game.
with real lives though.
Yeah, we are. So I'll pause there if that makes sense so far.
So far, yeah.
Well, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm just going to ask it and you can tell me. We'll get to that later. But so during all of this and all these moving parts, where does the library go in the meantime once they start construction in February of 2026? Where's the or are we just not having a library until April the following year? Like, have we talked about that at all?
No, we haven't, and that's not acceptable to me.
Right. So we'll coordinate with Manny / the new librarian person to keep the library operational. And they have some strategies for that. We still have to talk to the new librarian person to keep the library operational. But I'll say this much: when we do the demolition, we don't want the staff to be in that building, just to be safe.
Yeah, no,
So,
absolutely,
yeah,
of
but
course.
so we'll have a
But I also,
temporary
from what
concept.
I've heard, there's no funding for a relocation of the library. Is that true?
There's no dedicated funding at this moment. Is there funding available? Maybe, but there's no pot of money that says.
So there's a lot of things we've got to figure out in
Yeah.
a short period of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just looking at the timeline and thinking, oh my gosh, this scares me a little bit. Like, I just know how we tend to go a little bit longer than we anticipate. And so have you built in enough of a cushion for yourself that you're feeling really confident that, okay, we're going to get this done in April so that you can have all these financial narratives and expenditure reports due in February, or not February, but September, sorry?
Yeah, and we're talking 2027, but yeah. So.
Yeah, but construction starts in 2026. That's 1 year of construction.
Yeah,
You're pretty confident?
Yeah, about 14 months of construction. So far, yes. So the trickier part, I think the library construction and those final three items, 6, 7, and 8, those are very reasonable. The trickier part, more complicated, challenging part, I'll say, is to have the courthouse remodeled, at least downstairs, so that the assessors and the tax collectors can occupy those offices, so that Office of Ed can go to their current location.
So I'm coming in, I don't want to throw a wrench into anything, but some of the things that I have kind of heard is, I know that the treasurer and our assessor and elections, I know they're really happy where they are.
Yes.
Have we looked at what renovating possibly the courthouse would be, bottom and top floor for the library? and I don't know that everybody's probably maybe going to be really mad at me for saying that, but I'm just thinking then the library stays where they are and open, but could you do some state-of-the-art kind of cool? The bones are great in that building, but if it's gutted, you could reimagine. I don't know square footage, what we're looking at, and I don't want to shortchange anything, but I want to be very realistic, and I want us to explore every option available before, and I don't want to just, well, this is what we had on the table, and so this is what we're doing. Like, we didn't realize we were going to have this fire. Does this still make sense? Or, so anyways, I apologize if I'm throwing a wrench in
You're
things,
not.
but,
We've already discussed your wrench, so
okay, thank you.
we asked the architects, should we do upstairs, downstairs library, and there's a lot of issues with that, and just, in summary, the current library bones itself and the openness of it and the layout that we've been coordinating with other folks, it just lends itself to being a better library. And so that was the conclusion. But we already did discuss possibly having Office of Ed or whomever else, you know.
Let me throw out another variable in there. Gavilan College will be moving to its new location, and that whole bottom floor of the Gavilan College building belongs to the city of Hollister. And so I don't know what their plans are for that building, but it's within proximity of walking distance of the library county offices. You know, Gavilan's right there. There's a parking structure right on top, so parking doesn't become an issue any longer. But that's a possibility.
That's a great suggestion, and somehow, some way, and maybe it was through you, that suggestion was recently posed to us to just, for this reason, or for just county staff in general, even for the Board of Supervisors offices, honestly, there's a lot of folks that can use some offices now, because, you know, whether folks know, there was 3 offices at an old courthouse that were affected by the fire for the Board
Right.
of Supervisors.
We got
right? So
displaced, yes.
we've all been scrambling, including Board of Supervisors. So it could help this situation. It could just help staff areas in general. So yeah, thank you for that suggestion for the old Gavilan classrooms, I'll say, that are going to be abandoned this next fall when the new Gavilan comes up. So, okay, so that brings us to February 2026. Construction begins. 14 months later, construction's completed. 3 or 4 months after that, all the final financial everything has to be sent to the state, and that's due to the extended schedule that the state has given us with the grant, $10 million grant, which they were gracious enough to do due to the fire to the courthouse. So, bottom line is, I know it's not optimal to stretch out the schedule for the library expansion itself. If we had offices ready to go in our county for relocation of staff, and we could get Office of Ed out quicker. Big picture, Office of Ed also wants to be at San Felipe Road, 1131 San Felipe, where the assessors and treasurers are currently relocated. So that is their optimum location. We actually had already started planning that whole move before the fire, unfortunately. And so they'll be remaining where they're at until we get the assessors and treasurers back into the courthouse, so that Office of Ed can move to San Felipe. And I will pause there.
Okay, so do we have any public comments regarding this portion of the report, library expansion, or any of the other moves? I know that the parks, I just saw we lost Valerie Eggling because she has probably had questions on the park. But if you have questions on the park, hold those. But public comment, take it to the clerk then, Tammy. Anyone else?
On Zoom, you can press *9 on your phone or the raise hand icon on your screen.
Good afternoon. I'm Tammy Aviles with the Friends of the San Benito County Free Library, and looking at the timeline, so it looks like May 2025 is you complete the final design phase, and then you're looking at February 2026 for construction to start. So in that time period is where we would need to, I guess it's just making or suggesting an add to the timeline here, is to locate the swing space for the library staff, right? Do whatever improvements or moving and setting up for that, and just making sure that we kind of include that as part of our to-dos. That was it for right now.
Thank you, Tammy.
No more comments.
Okay. Do you have any comments regarding the library or any of the moves?
Are we done with the library? Okay, then I do have some questions. So, I was looking at, I don't know if it's even an old plan, but I believe that the Friends of the Library had kind of a conceptual kind of plan of what the library was going to kind of look like. Are we still using that plan, or did we kind of scratch that and are we starting completely over with this architect getting to the 30%?
No, the former. We actually started that as a baseline, a backbone, because the Friends had a lot of outreach over the last few years, and so we actually directed the architect to use that as a baseline backbone, as a starting point, launching point, and they were fine with that. They thought there was a lot of good plans, a lot of good aspects of those plans.
Okay.
And the two stakeholder meetings we've had Friends of the Library attend those. We've just kind of modified things and changed it a little bit, and yeah, but we started out with those and worked off of the original.
So it should closely resemble, like I'm looking at this. Should it closely resemble this?
It has the components. Tammy, maybe if you want to give more detail.
Again, I apologize. I'm trying to make
Don't
sure I
don't
understand
apologize.
this really well so that
Don't apologize.
I can be a good advocate for this. And yes, Tammy, that is what I'm looking at. I just got this from the meeting from last week, from this past weekend, I believe it was.
I'll take a copy of that, though I don't have one.
So just a question regarding staff areas, and maybe I'm getting too much into the weeds now, but is there anywhere, like we need badly, it seems like a lot of area for staff in comparison to like relative the entire library. Do we need that much?
He was talking about the conference room when he was talking about the conference room, right? You said conference rooms and staff area?
That's one of the new items.
Well, so that's one of the things I wanted to say. We really need a conference room. Like, we need a facility that we can have public meetings that are conducive to kind of being around a round table and having some discussions and things like that. This room is great, but it lends itself just for kind of meetings like this. It's not great for where I was earlier this morning, and we're having meetings. Again, we're not set up great for Zoom out at those facilities. And so I just wanted to make sure that while we're building this, that it's a true community hub, and that we make sure we have something like that for kind of public meetings, and not just for the county to use, but even for the public. If somebody wanted to have a meeting for something, that there was a space that had the technology that we need for today, and so kind of that state-of-the-art conference room.
It would be ideal if we can emulate what the Epicenter did
Yes.
to its building.
Yes.
Actually-
Great model.
Yes.
It's kind of a hybrid. We do have that. It's a little bit of a hybrid between. So Epicenter essentially has two rooms. They have the one with the kind of classical layout, and then they have the more community type meetings. So it's a little bit of a hybrid for the library, but that is in the concept. That concept is in this new library remodel. So, yes.
I just think, so I guess I look at the Epicenter and I think, okay, they have a boardroom, and then they have like a community meeting room is kind of how I see it. I would want to make sure we have something big enough for this community. I think that's the challenge all the time, is we don't have a space, other than the Epicenter, there is no real space to have these community meetings. And so if it's a hybrid, that's great, but I just don't want it to be too small. Don't want it to be more like the boardroom, want it to be more like the community room.
Yes, and I'll have to look at the square footage. I don't know physically. If
And I
it's
don't
small,
want to
but-
take away from the library. I just think it's a really important component to the community to have a meeting space. I think there's a lot of groups that are looking for everything from Little League signups to community town halls to, just even the county. We need a ton of spaces for meetings. So I would love to see that incorporated.
Yeah, it is, and it's planned to be used for all those type of things. So I think we're on the same page.
And don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what we're here for. Okay? Keep it up. Manny has a question. Go ahead, Manny. This is still your agenda item, so Go ahead.
And Chair, members of the committee, the only comment I have is that, although the space for the staff looks big, it's not, it's gonna be very tight. Because if you go and look at where we're at now, we don't have any place to really do a lot of work, like getting books ready. I mean, one of the areas we wanna create is, and I'm not a librarian, but I think once the librarian comes, she's gonna push even harder for a workspace for processing of books when they come in, when they check out, all that stuff. So that's one of the things that I just wanted to point out. I mean, it may look like a lot, but we want to create a space that's, again, it's going to expand a lot. So in order to process more books, we're going to need more space for staff to process it. So I just wanted to point that out. That's it.
Hey, Manny, just a really quick question while you're up here. So obviously the library right now doesn't really, I don't even know how long it's been there, for years. With this expansion, how big of a community will this expansion be good for? Is it being built for 70,000 residents? You know what I mean? Is there some type of a calculation where so many square feet per thousand or anything like that in this calculation? I just want to make sure that as we're doing this, we really are thinking into the future. I feel like I've seen too many projects that really we did them for right now, and then it's like, okay, but now it doesn't fit our needs. And I want to make sure that while we're doing this, there's a lot of thought going years into the future.
And I came way past when they started the process, and maybe that would be a more appropriate question for Tammy, because and that's one thing I can look into. I can talk to other librarians I know and find out if there's a metric that was used to create. I know, like in the most recent library that was open in Salinas was the Gavilan, but I don't know, or I think it's called the Gavilan. I don't know, but I don't know how they came up with how many square feet they needed for that, maybe 10. But I don't know if there is a metric out there but I'll certainly look into it.
Tammy, come on up to speak.
Sorry, Tammy.
From the needs assessment that was done in 2017, it was determined, I guess the standard is 1 square foot per resident, which would have meant 60,000 square feet. So, obviously,
now.
well, and and continuing to grow.
So it's still very small.
But if you look at the layout of the library now, with its current construction, with the columns, and, there's so much potential, especially when you look at the floor plan of it, almost like open concept, right? When you go in and demo a home and you do the open concept, that's kind of the approach we're doing with this, which will be able to accommodate more people. And I'm sure the summer reading programs are always impacted, and part of that is because they can't have all the kids in the library at the same time. So this will alleviate some of it, and I think because of the grant, this is the best that we can do right now. But we are trying to, when we are meeting, we are trying to get the most
Maximize what?
maximize. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's why I was concerned about the 18,000 square footers, because at one point we were looking at a very diminished number. Yeah, 4, 5, 8, and now it's at 18, so.
That's all I had. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Manny.
Thank you, Manny, and thank you for your leadership there the last year.
So if there's no more library questions, building questions, let's go over to the county parks project.
Can I just say one thing really quick before we move on from the library? I just want to thank the Friends of the Library. You have been instrumental in moving this project along and keeping us all very accountable. I appreciate all of the outreach, and I appreciate all of the work that you all are doing. And my commitment to is I will work with you guys the best that I can. I want your input. I want this to be, I know we're going to talk, are we going to talk regional park today? No?
Briefly, yes.
Briefly.
The answer is yes.
Okay, I think we have a couple of real heart of the community projects coming up, but I really believe the library is the heart of a community, and so I want to make sure that we get this done correctly. And I think the park is going to be my second heart, because I'm really excited about that, and I think it brings a lot of wonderful things to a community. But Friends of the Library and everybody that's been involved, thank you, Susan. Thank you for all of your leadership, being president. I love the library, and I've seen firsthand the impacts that libraries have on a community. So anything I can do to help, don't hesitate to reach out. And good luck at your fundraiser this Saturday.
Yeah.
Sunday, sorry. Okay, I'm done. Go ahead. Sorry.
Great, good stuff. All right, so no slides. I don't think folks want to see slides of fire damage. So I'm just gonna go real quick just to give you an update on the courthouse fire. So we've had a fire mitigation firm for the past several months remediating the entire structure and interior. The fire occurred on the second floor, and they're still about 90% completed of the mitigation of the second floor. The first floor is pretty much 100% complete. We're going to start doing some final walkthroughs and see what that really means. They're working on some utility systems. A lot of electrical and some other systems were affected by the fire, unfortunately. And so so the mitigation is almost complete. And what that means for the county is now we have to decide moving forward what that building's going to look like on the interior. And so the next step for our department, our capital projects, is to release RFP, really similar to what we did for the library. We're going to release an RFP for an architect to remodel, quote unquote, the bones. And as was mentioned previously, the building has really good bones. There's a lot of concrete, thick concrete, deep concrete. And so, so that's step one. And part of that process is going to be which departments will be housed there. We're fairly sure that the assessors and the tax collectors will be there. Question marks are, elections, board of supervisors, IT, the ag department. Who else is going to occupy that building? So we hope to release the RFP probably the second meeting in April, which is April 30th, and that'll start to get that process going to design those tenant improvements. And then essentially what that means is we'll have, a year-ish to do the remodel there and relocate office of the assessors, treasurers, and other departments. They need to be back in that building by approximately October of 2025, so that we can relocate the Office of Ed into San Felipe, therefore opening up the library to the library projects in February of 2026. So that's the plan. I'll pause for questions. I don't know how much more detail you'd like on the courthouse incident, but
So
I'll pause there.
will the election stay where it's at? Is that a long-term lease at their new building? I thought that was going to be their permanent home. No, not?
It's still up in the air. I know they're very happy with that location,
Right.
but there's costs and things involved with being relocated there versus back in the courthouse, right? So that's going to be probably come back to the Board of Supervisors at some point for like a budgeting type of question.
Okay.
But it is a very good facility, and
April,
they like it
May-ish.
there. So yeah.
Okay.
I have a quick question. I just wanted to make sure I heard this correctly. So the deadline for the RFP for the courthouse remodel is April 30th?
We're going to release it April 30th so that, well, no, I take it back. We don't even have to wait for the Board of Supervisors and RFP. So we'll get it out in April, the RFP, and we'll probably get responses for a board decision in May. So, because I was saying we'd have to wait till, so RFPs, we actually don't have to wait. We don't have to get approval for RFPs from the board. We just have to get approval for allocating budgets and projects. And
Right. So the RFP will go out
I'll just say
in April
yeah.
for the remodel, and then it'll come to the Board of Supervisors
Oh, in May.
in
actually.
May
Yeah.
sometime. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Do that. Sorry about that clarification. So May for Board of Supervisors. Correct. And yeah, so that's where we're at with the courthouse and the fire that occurred there. So, if we pause for public comment or just move on. Or
Let me see, any public comments regarding the courthouse?
On Zoom, you can press star 9 on your phone or raise hand icon on your screen. No comments.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and go to the county parks then, projects.
Okay, so start with some smaller upgrades and then talk about some bigger projects ongoing. So we have completed the historical park restroom upgrades. It primarily was new facilities and ADA compliant
So they're
facilities.
done?
They're done.
Yay!
Yeah, so you can go and please use the new bathrooms at the historical park. We'd be very excited. And the park managers folks, they're actually going to they're reaching out to local artists because right now the paint is kind of a boring white on the outside. And so they were going to reach out to the local artists to see if they actually wanted to paint the outside of the restrooms too. So that'd be kind of fun. And it actually cuts down on graffiti. It's kind of a win-win. So hopefully that's up to the parks folks, and they're reaching out to local arts community. So men's room, women's room, kind of a mirror of each other almost, and just new facilities, and yeah. So I'll just to mention, it's not in the slides, but we actually have ARPA funding we have $750,000 to do another set of restrooms, and we'll put showers in those restrooms also at the historical park, and that has to be under contract this year to meet ARPA guidelines. That's $750,000, so that's going to be another restroom and showers for the historical park, which would be great. And then we also have a water filtration unit that needs to be installed at the historical park this year
So when
as
you
well.
say water filtration, is that like using the gray water and reallocating it elsewhere?
It's gonna be purifying the well water that we have there, so that
Okay.
it's usable, it's more drinkable. All of it, so it becomes potable.
Good, because that was the main concern about not having any drinkable water out there.
Yeah, so that'll be good. So those two projects will be happening this year as well. So historical park.
You ought to pat yourself on the back for that one. That was a major accomplishment.
Yeah, it's fun. The bathrooms are real nice, so it's a good project. And then jumping over to Sunnyside Park, which for folks that aren't familiar, it's the neighborhood Sunnyside Estates is over near Southside Road and Hospital Road where the new bridge is. So we're actually going to be technically putting two parks there. One is in the Sunnyside neighborhood, and the other one will be across the street, and it'll be used more for the Riverview Estates neighborhood, which is kind of two subdivisions there. And then, of course, there's Bennett Ranch nearby. So those two parks should begin construction this summer, and hopefully be finished by this winter or spring, depending on weather and when equipment arrives. I'll move on and keep things moving along. So over at Veteran Vets Park, we're also doing kind of a similar upgrade. We're actually reversing the men's room and ladies' room to give the women a little more room and just do some things with ADA upgrades at Vets Park. This is also an ARPA funded project, which is great. We actually have a bid for that. It came in at about $230,000, which is good. I think our overall budget's about $300,000 for the construction. So that was good news. And so that actually should start within the next month or so. It's the bathroom next to the skate park. It's kind of red building next to the playground. So that'll start and be kind of finished by the summer. And then towards the end of summer, fall, totally different project. We're going to wait till the leagues have finished their seasons and they don't need the fields anymore, so to speak. And then we're going to be resurfacing the parking lot, putting some lighting. We're going to have an area towards that restroom and towards the playground area that's going to be kind of utilized for food truck or folks to gather and whatnot. We've been coordinating that with the Vets Park commissioners. So that'll start after the league's done, and it'll be a few months to complete that, but we'll wait till the summer, fall leagues are finished playing, and then so the whole parking lot will be resurfaced, lighting, and some areas for food trucks and things. So that'll be fun. Vets Park's also a great area to be in. It's quite popular through the summertime. So I'll keep going. Riverview Regional Park.
Wait, can I ask one quick question? So in regards to the bathroom at Vets Park, you said you're gonna start construction in about a month.
Mhm.
Are we bringing in any restroom, like any porta potties or anything? Okay, perfect. Because I'm like, I know the season is still going on out there, and with one bathroom. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, we might even have more. We had a few over at the historical park for the similar reason, and we'll probably I'll have to make a note. We might need maybe 4 temp, because maybe more. I don't know. The nice thing with temp porta potties, if we need more, we can just add more. But yeah, but we already
Okay.
plan to have some.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure. And then while we're on Vets Park, is there any plans to do across the street?
So originally, if we got a little more money from ARPA, the answer would be yes, because that restroom's also pretty old. Not currently. I'll say that much. Not currently. There's no
Okay. I
funding.
mean, it's a facility I feel like that people rent. They
It's-
rent that
it's
facility
filled
to
up.
use, and those bathrooms,
Are
I
old.
wouldn't want to use those bathrooms. So,
They are old.
I hope that in the near future we can figure out something to do. I know we have a lot of needs and wants, but not a lot of revenue, but hopefully we can figure something out just because it's pretty bad.
Yeah, and we actually started out focusing on that restroom, believe it or not, and then it switched like, well, we might only have the funding to do one or the other, and so then it switched to the one that's near all the ball fields. But absolutely agree. Love to have some funding to help out that.
And so when people, because I get this comment, right? We rented it and it's terrible. So when people rent that facility, what do those funds go towards?
So we bring in approximately $7,000 a year from renting that area, and that doesn't even cover, I don't know, a quarter of our staff costs. So we're going to be going to, so the Vets Commission and the Parks Commission said we could raise rental rates just a little bit. It's like $50, is the increase.
Mhm.
And that'll help a little bit, and that's more just for supplies to the restrooms really is what that funds. All parks, and I've talked to other agencies besides ours, Monterey County and Santa Cruz County and the City of Monterey. Parks just end up coming from the general fund. They never really fund themselves, unfortunately. It's just the way it is. I think it's
Okay.
kind of a
It's just
community
something I get asked from
yeah.
the community, and it's like, well, I'm not
It pretty
totally
much
sure.
the answer is it funds the supplies for the
The
rest.
supplies.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Thank
if
you.
You want the real answer. All right, jumping over Riverview Regional Park. So for folks that aren't familiar, this is going to be built south of the high school. It's 60 plus acres. A third of it is owned by the county. The portion, if you look in the image, the portion to the right is owned by the county. The other 2/3 are actually owned by the high school. They provided a lease to the county for 99 years for $1 so that we could build this park, which was
I'm so glad that you touched on that because I'm concerned about year 100 and 101, 102. And when I asked county council, I was told, well, that's not your responsibility to worry about, but I'm still worried about it because I would like to, because we have county council in the room, I would like to make sure we secure that it stays with the county and it doesn't revert back to the high school or to the city of Hollister. We need to maintain that as an asset since we're putting so much money into this investment. It's an investment for the community, and I don't want it to be locked up or gated off because it no longer belongs to the county. And I won't be alive in 99 years, but at least I hope that I'm not. But I want to make sure that that's not a problem that my predecessor or my successors have to worry about at a later date. So is that something that you can? Okay.
Yeah, and on that note, and we might not have to come to this budget year for this June, July budget discussions, but for sure, 2025, June, July, we're going to need at least one more full-time parks person. Right now we have 2, but following summer, we're going to have Sunnyside Park times 2. We're going to have, this park will be built towards the end of 2025, so we're going to need one more full-time parks maintenance person. And the only reason I mention that is hopefully we can work out that 99-year lease, but there's a lot of that goes in with just if someone were to want to take over the park. But it's a great comment that this park's going to be So there'll be a lot involved with just overseeing and maintaining the park and all the facilities. It's going to be a great park. So status, phase 1 of the parking lot, which is a gray area up top. We actually have the money and had the money, still have the money for that. We did some site walk with a biologist, and long story short, we had to do some extra environmental studies for that area and kind of the rest of the park based on the biologist site walk. And so we'll be through with the environmental studies, hopefully, in towards this fall. And so the environmental studies are actually taking longer than the design of the park. And so we're getting through those. And so phase 1 was technically just about half of the parking area, and then phase 2 is a lot of fun amenities. I don't want to name them all, but we got the playground at the bottom right area, which I tried to blow up a little bit. It's outer space meets farm concept, so that's literally what the playground's going to look like, and it's actually going to have a few more things added to it, which will be pretty amazing. And then all kinds of fun things. I won't go through them all because a lot of folks have probably heard. And so we're having another very specific stakeholder outreach meeting to very specific groups in April, i.e. folks that wanted to help us design the disc golf course. We're going to reach out to them. We're going to reach out to RC car track folks. We're going to reach out to the astronomy folks. So April 22nd is the tentative meeting for that kind of a final stakeholder outreach. Over the years, we've had 4, I think, and we just had, our most recent one was a few months back before the holidays, and so this will be kind of the last stakeholder outreach, but it's going to be a very focused stakeholder outreach. And then we'll be able to complete the design actually towards the end of the summer, hopefully the environmental a little bit after that. And but we're going to be looking for grants because we still need funding for kind of landscaping, irrigation. We like to do an amphitheater. The Board of Supervisors helped reach out to some of our politicians to help try to get some of the extra funding for some fun things we want to do, maybe some bocce ball courts. A lot of potential, a lot of room, but the meat of it, luckily we have the funding for most of the things you're seeing here, the softball fields, RC track. Well, I won't go through it, but we can use more funding. We have a lot already, and we're very excited about the park. It's going to be amazing, and I'll pause there. So.
I said, may I suggest for your April 22nd meeting that you do your whole slideshow of the parks so that people can see it. I know that you're probably tired of seeing it since you've been developing and working on it, but as I said, this whole room, it's new members that haven't been attending in person, and if they're going to be part of the parks meeting on the 22nd, they can see what we've all been seeing and the progress toward and what the end product's going to look like.
Yeah, and what I'll do in that note, so the next Park and Rec Commission meeting, I'll bring those slides as well. And then the April 22nd is a little bit more about they'll see those slides, the folks are there, but it's just going to be like the disc golf group and the track field group and the astronomy group. Those are kind of the folks that we're going to start reaching out to for the April 22nd. But great idea for the next Park and Rec Commission meeting. I'll definitely present all the slides because it is fun. It's great to see all those things being stuff. So.
Well, you guys have been working on this for a long time, and I appreciate all the effort you've put into it, and the community input that you've allowed. You and then Mike Chambliss when we had the open sessions out there at the actual park itself, and so this is going to be a community park, community owned, community operated, and I'm sure they're going to love it and take care of it. I didn't realize that disc golf was such a big popular sport, but I know Monterey County had an event for the disc golf, or they're going to have one. I saw it on social media, and I would love for us to be able to host something like that. That would be awesome with a brand new course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And if we have any comment from the public or next.
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card. On Zoom, you can press *9 on your phone or raise hand icon on your screen.
I'm so glad you came back, Val. I thought we had lost you.
So we have Valerie Eglin.
Yes. super, 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 super excited. And one thing that makes me even more excited than the fact that this is coming to reality and is being developed little by little, and what Steve has done to bring the different individual sports together to help design, and that they will create the momentum together that will bring more income and more funding, as we can specify the types of grants that we go after. And once you get it more and more specified, the easier it is to get it. So the other thing is, as you know, this morning I went to a out at the sheriff's department. It was for juvenile probation, and I talked to a couple of people there about how we could bring down the number of children involved in crime or truancy if we had decent facilities for them to be involved in, like with the library. We need this. So I applaud you. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie.
No other comments.
Thank you. All right, so do you need further direction or are you good? Okay. All right, now, do you have other capital improvement projects you need to update us on?
No, those are the ones for, there's all kinds of projects, but no, for today, that should be it.
No, I feel kind of bad. Since the fire, I have been displaced office-wise, but I know that the new supervisors, Curro, Sotelo, and Zanger, still don't have an office of their own. So I'm going to advocate that we put that on as an agenda when we start looking at replacement spaces for Supervisor Kosmicki and I, that it is extended to all 5 of us, not just the 2 of us that are looking for a home, because it's not fair. And for the public that doesn't understand, we are full-time employees with the county as supervisors. My phone will ring starting at 7 a.m. and sometimes it'll go to 11. And if I'm operating out of my mother's home, I am literally occupying her living room and dining room and taking her space because I have no office space. And so if I have to take a phone call, I've got to go walk outside. Well, she's no longer in her home, but I am in there. But previously, I would have to walk outside to have the phone call because I was intruding in her living space, and that just wasn't fair. And so that happens to all 5 of us. We don't have an office of our own, and some of us don't even have enough space in our house to be able to have an office within the house. And so frequently, I'm in the car. So if you ever see me driving, I'm talking like crazy, one hand on the wheel, and I'm talking because that's where I conduct most of my business. But it's essential for the Board of Supervisors to have it. As a member of CSAC, I'm amazed to see how many supervisors have support staff in the numbers of 2, 3, 5 staffers. And when you look at this supervisor, it's me, myself, and I. Same thing for Supervisor Sotelo, Curro, Zanger, and Kosmicki. It's me, myself, and I. That's the whole team. There's nobody fielding our phone calls. There's nobody reading our emails, helping us with anything, scheduling. And so it's. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying the community needs to understand that it's significant on one person to undertake, and we really need the office to work out of to be able to do our job accurately. And sometimes there's some confidential conversations that have to be had, and we need to be able to close the door and have that conversation without anyone. The other day I was on the phone and I pulled up to the behavioral health building, and there was a gentleman that I had known from, just in the community, and he started laughing at me because obviously I was a little bit irate as I was having my conversation. And when you have the volume too loud, you can hear the conversation in the car outside. And as I stepped out, I said, "Hey, you're so-and-so, right?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he just starts laughing. I said, "What are you laughing at?" He goes, "I heard you." And I have a potty mouth. And obviously my potty mouth was being extended out to the airways, and he heard me. And he belongs to Zeke Lopez's Bulldog Boxing. And Zeke has mentored those gentlemen to, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, thank you. Really respectful. So here Supervisor Gonzalez is in their midst with my potty mouth, and so I had to apologize to him for that too, because again, I'm supposed to be the role model. and I wasn't, but it's essential that we have an office, because even little instances like that, it's reflecting negativity on me and negatively on the county, because she can't keep her mouth shut and she's conducting business, but everybody's hearing it. And again, it's not the best way to conduct business, but it is what it is. We got to do what we have to do. But anyway, so on that note, I will stop talking. It looks like we have future agenda items. Do you have any items for future agenda items? No? Okay. Yeah, neither I at this point. Oh, okay. Then I will then take a motion to adjourn unless you have any other.
So move.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, a second. Aye. Okay. 2-0 on that.
So we will see you all on May 1st, right?
May 1st, yes, May Day.
Okay.
And
Thank
for those
you.
of all
Thank
that
you
are
all
old
for
enough
being
to remember
here
May
and being
Day.
so patient with us
Yes,
as we
thank
ask
you.
a million questions. Can't wait.